Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, this is going to be a small one tonight. Small crowd. Already used up all of my notifications. Usually there's like 60 right before you start. Now there's 17. Oh, 24 now. Ooh. Yeah. Alright, well, we made it to the out to the Cascade Locks. I'm glad I went when I went. I was going to maybe go in the morning, but then I thought, well, I don't have much to do right at that moment, so. And then I left and I forgot my wallet, so then I turned around and came home and almost didn't go, and then I went, screw it, I'll go. Turned out it worked out to be perfect timing. Right when we got there is when the press conference, I even asked a question. But we've only got 41 people here, and it's not going to get much more. If we get to 100, it'd be a miracle. My channel doesn't exist right now on YouTube. I don't know what you're talking about, Moofies. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, 41 viewers. That's like a channel that has like 400 subs and, you know. Well, hopefully you guys liked the live streams today. So I did 2 of them, and that wasted 2 of my notifications, and now I'm doing my actual live stream, and we've got 55 people. I'd rather almost not do a show than to do that, because at that point it's there's no way to reach a goal or anything like that with 50 people. You know, then you're just sort of spinning your wheels for 3 hours. We'll see how it goes. See if we can get if we get up to like 100 people in the next 15 minutes, we'll continue on. We're at about 40% of the goal based on the 2 lives that I did earlier. Now they're not going to send out notifications because I did 2 live streams. You can only get 3 per 24-hour period, and that's why it's a waste to do a community post, because that counts. So if you do a community post and say, hey everybody, blah 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 blah, and you happen to do 2 streams, and then all of a sudden now they're not going to notify anybody. Like, let's say you did a stream at like 10 o'clock last night, and then 1 at 2 in the morning, and then you did a community post at 8 in the morning and said, hey everybody, I'm going to do a live stream at later. They won't send out a live stream notification because they've already used up your 3. See how stupid that is? It's insane. All right. Anyways, we'll just play the. This is the Gene Hackman press conference today. I don't know if you guys have all seen it, but I fixed the audio. It was really bad, coming out of one side, low. So it should sound pretty good. I haven't heard the whole thing yet myself. So here we go. Let's do it. But while it's playing, if you guys could help support the channel, that would be great. See if we can get to the goal even on a lower night. All right? That would be great. Before we get started, though, I do want to say thanks to the people in those 2 live streams. Now I can actually go see them now. So thanks to, let's see. I guess just anything today would be, there's one, Susie Clue on a super chat somewhere. And a super thanks on a video. And then it was Med247RN, Mark Willis, Alley Cake, Cool Kittle, Karen Morrison, Plato, Alley Cake, Dead Zone donation, it said. And then Elizabeth Capone Cook, Callie, Amber Maiden, Elizabeth Capone Cook again. Thank you. And then Alyssa Stedman, Jeannie Gaigoy, and Free Radical. But I think now I've got, it just seems really kind of easy to do those live streams. What I don't understand is how you make a thumbnail on a cell phone really quick. It just doesn't, I don't know how people do that. And it doesn't even tell you anywhere where you can upload one. You almost need to have somebody on the side who can upload a thumbnail after you've gone on or something. I don't know how people do that. It's crazy. And KME gifted a membership, and JE received it. Can't tell if this is, I think I need to be about back here. Not sure. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go.
Office of the Medical Investigator, Dr. Aaron. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sheriff Adan Mendoza, Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. With me today is Dr. Heather Giral, Chief Medical Investigator for the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator, Dr. Aaron Phipps, New Mexico State Public Health Veterinarian, New Mexico Department of Health, and also Chief Brian Moya, Santa Fe City Fire Department. This investigation started on February 26th with the discovery of Mr. Hackman and Miss Arakawa and their dog.
Oh, that was funny. That sound was me leaving to go out to the film today, that little door opening and everything. Because the mic was still on. But it has an automatic recording you can set in OBS Studio, where you can say record for the next 35 minutes. So it just recorded by itself and then stopped. Hey, thanks Moofies, puppy taxes.
At the residence. I just want to do a short recap and then touch on some new information. As we know, both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide. City Fire conducted tests and deemed scene safe for deputies to conduct their investigation. The preliminary pacemaker interrogation results were released last week, and I'll let Dr. Giral touch more specifically on those results. The gas company New Mexico, they also did an analysis of the residence, and they found one minor leak in a single burner on the kitchen stove, which was 0.33% of room air, which was pretty minute and insignificant. Since that time, Xena, the deceased dog, has been taken for necropsy at the Veterinary Diagnostic Services, and we'll be awaiting those results. Let's speak a little bit in reference to the timeline for vet.
Oh yeah, this is me coming back in my room for something. I must have left something.
Betsy Arakawa. We know from our investigation that on February 9th, 2025, she picked up Xena from Gruta Veterinary Hospital. There was a procedure that was done with the dog, which may explain why the dog was in a crate at the residence. Let's move on to February 11th, 2025. Mrs. Arakawa had an email conversation with her massage therapist at about 11:21 a.m. Moving on into the afternoon, Miss Arakawa was at the Sprouts Farmers Market between 3:30 and 4:15 p.m. Miss Arakawa was seen on surveillance video at the CVS pharmacy in Santa Fe from 4:12 to 4:20 p.m. She then stopped at a local pet food store at about 4:54 p.m. Her car was seen on surveillance, and the remote control clicker that is assigned to her and her vehicle was used to enter the subdivision to gain access to the gated community at 5:15 p.m. Numerous emails were unopened on her computer on February 11th. There was no additional outgoing communication from her or known activity after February 11th, 2025. The cell phone information and the cell phone data is pending. We're working with state police to get the information from those phones, but our investigation shows that all the last known communication and activity from Ms. Arakawa was on February 11th. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the podium to Dr. Gerald. I would ask that everybody refrain from asking questions until everybody has provided their statements. I'll step up to the podium and then we'll go ahead and field questions from the media. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Heather Gerald, the Chief Medical Examiner for New Mexico at the Office of the Medical Investigator. I'd like to begin by stating that it is unprecedented for the Office of the Medical Investigator to make public statements about death investigations. However, the circumstances surrounding these two deaths require accurate dissemination of important information. I've also spoken with the Hackman family prior to this conference, who are aware of the autopsy findings and conclusions and are aware of this conference. On Thursday, February 27th, I performed an autopsy on Mr. Gene Hackman. Medical examiner Dr. Daniel Gallego at the Office of the Medical Investigator performed a full autopsy on Miss Betsy Arakawa Hackman. Also on Thursday, February 27th. By report, Miss Arakawa Hackman's legal name is Betsy Hackman, which is how she will be referred to hereafter. The cause of death for Miss Betsy Hackman, aged 65 years, is hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The manner of death is natural.
Yeah, you normally get that from like rats, something regarding a rat, like you caught the virus from them.
Autopsy examination and full body postmortem CT demonstrated no findings of trauma internally or externally, with microscopic findings consistent with hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Laboratory testing was positive for hantavirus at a clinical lab, with required confirmation testing positive at Scientific Laboratories Division.
So there's something to do with their heart regarding the hantavirus.
Testing for COVID-19, influenza, and other common respiratory viruses was negative.
Oh, so she
Testing
didn't know
for
what she
carbon
had.
monoxide was negative. There were no other significant natural disease findings. Pills present on scene or thyroid medication, which were being taken as prescribed and is not currently a concern for a contributory cause of death. The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor. Autopsy examination and a full-body postmortem CT examination demonstrated no acute findings of internal or external trauma and showed severe heart disease, including multiple surgical procedures involving the heart, evidence of prior heart attacks, and severe changes of the kidneys due to chronic high blood pressure. Examination of the brain showed advanced Alzheimer's disease, as well as blood vessel changes in the brain secondary to chronic high blood pressure. Laboratory testing performed at Scientific Laboratories Division was negative for COVID-19, influenza, and other common respiratory viruses. Testing for hantavirus was negative. Testing for carbon monoxide was negative. Additionally, there were no autopsy findings concerning for hantavirus infection.
Yeah, so hold on a second. So hantavirus right here says, I didn't ask what it was, but there is no cure for hantavirus, but early treatment can improve the chances. I've always associated with like rats or something when I've heard of it. Supportive care, rest, hydration, breathing, support, oxygen. If you suspect hantavirus, you should seek immediate emergency Medicare, preferably in an intensive care unit. Patients with sudden acute disease can rapidly become severely sick and die. That's probably exactly what happened to her. Eliminate or reduce contact with rodents. This is how you prevent it. Seal holes and gaps in your home or garage. Place traps around or in dwellings that may be rodent infested. Clean up food that would easily be for rodents to access. Keep your kitchen clean. Avoid areas showing signs of rodents. I mean, I don't know how common it is. Let's see. Hantavirus infections are rare in the United States, but can be fatal if not treated promptly. Since 1993, the CDC has recorded about 860 cases. Isn't that amazing? I mean, in a 32-year period in the entire United States, 860 people had it, and she's one of them. I mean, my God, what are the odds of that? That's just... 96% of hantavirus cases have occurred in states west of the Mississippi River, which is New Mexico. Most hantavirus infections are caused by sin nombre virus. I'm not sure what that means. Most hantavirus infections are caused by the sin nombre virus. Hantavirus are spread by rodents such as mice and are excreted in their saliva, droppings, and urine. The chance of exposure is greatest when people work, play, or live in closed spaces where rodents are present. Symptoms include fever, chills, weakness, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. God, I have those same symptoms when I see a Pro Burger. It's weird. These symptoms are followed by difficulty breathing. It's not very common, but my God, I mean, how did she, that's just, I mean, somebody has to be the 861st, right? But hey, guys, if there's any chance you guys can help support the channel, let's see if we can get to the goal even on an off night like this. All right, we're probably about 20 or 50% now.
I have been asked when death occurred for these individuals. There is no reliable scientific method to accurately determine the exact time or date of death. Mr. Hackman's initial pacemaker data revealed cardiac activity on February 17th, with subsequent pacemaker interrogation demonstrating an abnormal rhythm of atrial fibrillation on February 18th, which was the last record of heart activity. Based on this information, it is reasonable to conclude that Mr. Hackman probably died around February 18th. Based on the
7 days later.
circumstances,
That's crazy.
it is reasonable to conclude that Ms. Hackman passed away first, with February 11th being the last time that she was known to be alive. Lastly, clinically, hantavirus infection is characterized by flu-like symptoms consisting of fever, muscle aches, cough, sometimes vomiting and diarrhea that can progress to shortness of breath and cardiac or heart failure and lung failure. This occurs after a 1 to 8 week exposure to excrement from a primarily particular mouse species that carries hantavirus. The mortality of hantavirus, the mortality rate of the hantavirus strain in the Southwest is about 38 to 50%. The hantavirus strains in the United States are not transmissible from person to person. And so this is an appropriate time to segue to Dr. Aaron Phipps, the state public health veterinarian with the New Mexico Department of Health.
You're always typing in riddle. Just say what you think.
Before I do so, I'd like to kindly ask for everyone to please respect the privacy that Mr. Gene Hackman, Miss Betsy Hackman, and their family and friends deserve. Thank you.
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of what we were talking about. I think there was a person in that, like the first day we talked about it, said that it sort of made sense later that she died first, but I don't think anybody expected the way it actually went. I think most people thought that she died first, and then he sort of died panicking, trying to go get help or something, and he collapsed. That's not how it went. She died, and for 7 days, with his Alzheimer's, he probably just wandered around the house aimlessly and had nobody to help him, nor did he have the wherewithal to make a phone call or do anything. And the person that was always taking care of him died suddenly from the hantavirus. And she probably went into the bathroom to try to grab some pills really quick to take and, put them in her mouth, and then she just stumbled and fell to the ground because it killed her, the hantavirus. And then Gene Hackman probably maybe at some point saw her, but just kind of didn't know what he was looking at and just kept walking around. And nobody could take care of him. And I think he just sort of collapsed himself for, hell, he probably didn't eat, didn't know what the hell he was doing. Just collapsed and fell on the ground and probably laid on the ground. I would imagine he might have been on the ground for a few days. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. His heart stopped at some point, but he probably just laid there. We don't know, but that's what it feels like. All right, we only have one coffee tonight, and I think we're at $5 on the show. Does that seem reasonable? All right, so if you guys could help support the channel so we can try to help reach the goal. I went out to the locks today, did 2 different streams out there for you guys. Didn't reach the goal there, and now we're on another live stream. So if you guys have the ability to, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gerald. I will now provide additional information about hantaviruses in New Mexico. There are many different types of hantaviruses found worldwide. These viruses are zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted from animals to humans. Hantaviruses are carried by rodents. The hantavirus found in New Mexico...
Okay, Cindy, can you just let us watch the shows? I know that you want to run out and you really frustrate me, Cindy. Sometimes I don't enjoy having you here, okay? Just let us watch the show. We all know that you run out there and you want to be first at everything, but you don't take it in correctly, so it's not interesting. All right? So let us just watch the show without you sort of spoiling how things go, okay? You like doing that to let everybody know that you saw it first. I could have seen it first earlier. I just recorded it and went on to go do something else for you guys and came back here.
The Sin Nombre virus is found throughout the state, primarily in deer mice, but in other
Hey,
rodents
thanks,
as
Karen
well.
Morrison.
Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is a rare disease caused by hantaviruses, but a small number of human infections are found every year in New Mexico. Over the past 5 years,
Wow, I guess you don't want to live in New Mexico then, I guess.
New Mexico has confirmed between 1 and 7 hantavirus infections in humans each year. Through the end of 2024, we have identified 136 infections over the past 50 years in New Mexico residents, 5 of these in Santa Fe County. This is a serious disease. 42% of these infections here in New Mexico were fatal. Most transmission occurs around the patient's residence or workplace, and the New Mexico Department of Health typically conducts an environmental investigation at the residence of all hantavirus cases in our jurisdiction. This can help identify specific areas that may pose higher risk, providing insight into where transmission may have occurred and how to prevent future infections. On March 5th, the New Mexico Department of Health staff conducted a risk assessment of the property, including the main residence as well as other structures on the property. This was critically important to address concerns about health risks to first responders, as well as to inform any prevention measures needed to protect the family and other individuals entering the property in the future. We assessed the risk of exposure in the primary residence as low, similar to other well-maintained houses in New Mexico. We did identify signs of rodent entry in other structures on the property and provided information and resources.
You know, it's interesting if they have dogs, you'd think that they would be out there. Maybe that's where it's good to have a cat, but then can't the cat catch it and give it to you, or I don't know.
About reducing the risk of hantavirus transmission related to those areas.
Hey, thanks so much, Deborah Heimbach.
Hantavirus can be transmitted to people through rodent urine, droppings, or saliva, so it is important to take special steps when cleaning up after rodents. Avoiding contact with...
I think this is great that they did this because, you know, it's something that exists in New Mexico and people might not be aware of it. And man, with a 40% mortality rate with the virus that's in New Mexico, man, that's creepy.
Breathing in aerosolized rodent urine or feces, especially in a poorly ventilated area, is key. Detailed guidance can be found on the New Mexico Department of Health and the CDC websites, but I will provide a very brief summary now. It is important to use gloves and a well-fitting N95 mask when around or cleaning rodent-infested areas, and to open any windows or doors for at least 30 minutes beforehand to increase ventilation. Spray the area thoroughly with a 10% bleach solution or a commercial disinfectant. Let it sit for 5 minutes. Next, clean the area with paper towels, then throw them away in a covered garbage can that is regularly emptied. Before removing gloves,
I guess we have it in Oregon too, since 1993.
Wash your gloved hands with soap and water or with a disinfectant, and then after removing gloves, wash your hands again with soap and water. It's important to never sweep up or vacuum mouse droppings, since this can spread particles up into the air. Since hantavirus is found throughout New Mexico, awareness of these risks and how to reduce them is important for all New Mexicans. The New Mexico Department of Health extends our deepest condolences to the families and friends during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that'll conclude the statements
The
for today.
bubonic plague?
We will go ahead and take questions. I ask that there be one question per agency.
You know, it's funny, when we were kids, now it makes sense. When we were in New Mexico when we were kids, I think we had like a fever, and one of us had a fever or something. My mom, we were in a waiting room and nobody was doing anything. So she jumps up and says, you know, I think my kid might have the bubonic plague. Man, they started running really fast and grabbed, then we got right in. You know, so good on you, Mom. Good move.
And please state who you're directing the question to, as there's several individuals here at this conference, sir.
Sheriff, just to clarify the timeline here, does this mean Gene Hackman was likely home with his deceased wife for a week
Yeah.
he passed away himself?
Yes, I would assume that is the case.
Do you believe, given his Alzheimer's status, that Mr. Hackman was able to live on his own and survive for those 7 days?
Well, he
I think
survived.
that's more a question.
He survived, but he
maybe
died.
for Dr. Jarrell?
Just to repeat so that everyone could hear, the question was, do we believe that Mr. Hackman was able to live on his own and survive? The answer to that question is that Mr. Hackman showed evidence of advanced Alzheimer's disease. I'm not aware of what his normal daily functioning capability was. He was in a very poor state of health. He had significant heart disease, and I think ultimately that is what resulted in his death. I was able to look at fluid to determine if he was dehydrated, and I did not see evidence of dehydration. I did see evidence of very poor kidney function, and I think he died as a result of his.
Well, so that's interesting. It makes it sound like he was drinking water and moving around and doing things. Did he eat food? I mean, that'd be an interesting question. Did he have any food in his stomach? Yeah, something like that.
Heart disease, and with Alzheimer's being that contributing factor.
What about starvation?
Oh, there you go. Starvation.
The question was, what about starvation? So there was no food in his
There
stomach,
you go.
which means he had not eaten recently.
Wow, isn't that funny? That was the very next question that was asked. You know, you guys, I should be one of the people that ask questions.
But he had also no evidence of dehydration.
So based on your understanding of the progression...
So he didn't eat, he drank water.
Do you believe
Wow.
that he was possibly not aware that his wife had died, or didn't know what to do in that situation?
It's difficult to answer. The question was he aware that Miss Hackman had died? And I think that question's difficult to answer, but I can tell you that he was in an advanced state of Alzheimer's, and it's quite possible that he was not aware that she was deceased.
This is for the sheriff. Considering the circumstances under which Mr. Hackman was found in the mudroom with his walking cane...
I think basically he'd still be alive right now, but in the same, poor mental condition, poor condition, if she was alive, because she probably fed him. It looks like he drank water, but without food in his condition, his body probably just couldn't handle it. I mean, then everything started kicking in, his heart. I think he died of natural causes, sped up by not eating. That's what I think.
That he was not aware that she was deceased.
This is for the sheriff. Considering the circumstances under which Mr. Hackman was found in the mudroom with his walking cane and sunglasses by him, do you think there is a possibility that he was trying to get help for his wife?
That's hard to answer. Again, it's hard to get into the frame of mind of what was happening at the time, and I don't know if we'll ever have the answer to that question, whether he was going to go for help or he wasn't. Sir.
Sheriff, are there any other big questions that you're trying to answer? I mean, does this answer the biggest questions you had about the death in this case?
Yeah, there's nothing nefarious.
Yeah, so the question is there any other big questions that are left? I think a lot of questions were answered here today. I think there...
Right, the case is done. I'm not ever going to talk about it again on this channel. I mean, other than like, oh yeah, remember what happened to... it's over. Now, if you were... let's just pretend that this case was the Idaho 4 case and we had a press conference just like this, so simply presented, etc. The pro-burgers will still say there's something not quite right here. They'll try to figure out a way to keep something going, okay? There isn't anything going here. I just want to hear the final, like what happened, listen to these questions, and then that's it. It all makes sense, doesn't it? She actually died of something. That was the one key thing, is how did she die? Because she was younger. And she just randomly died? Well, no. She had hantavirus that nobody knew about, turns out. And she died of the heart-related issues related to that, and it was probably pretty sudden. And that's probably why she was grabbing medicine, because she was really feeling something wasn't right. And then she falls to the ground, and Gene Hackman had nobody to feed him. He apparently was able to drink water somehow. And I think he just walked around aimlessly, and then eventually just kind of collapsed and died. I mean, it's sad as shit. But I think that's the story, and, there's just nothing else there, right?
There was, Dr. Durrell went over the cause of death, and I think a lot of those questions are answered. I think the timeline that we've been given as far as the pacemaker results and the history and evidence that we found as far as the timeline of Miss Arakawa, I think a lot of the questions have been answered. We are...
She answered... I did hear something on a clip somewhere where she mentioned something about the dog. I guess let's just listen to it. I think she answers it. Something about, the dog went into... Well, I think I mentioned it already. The dog had a surgery recently, and now it would make sense why you might keep the dog in a crate so it's not running around re-aggravating an injury. See, like everything makes sense now, right?
Waiting on the cell phones, but I would very unlikely that the cell phones are going to or show anything else. Another question?
Sheriff, are there any signs of what have you learned about Mr. Hackman's communication after February 11th? Did you talk to any friends of his who had spoken with him during that week-long period, or know anything about what he was doing?
So the question is whether there was any communication from Mr. Hackman or activity, and no, at this point, no. I don't know if he used cell phones or technology or emails. There's no indication of that. So right now there is no activity from Mr. Hackman.
Sheriff, do you know if this pacemaker was connected to some sort of monitoring service? So if anyone tipped off that something was wrong?
The question was his pacemaker connected to a monitoring service? The answer to that is that his physician, one of his physicians had contacted me and told me that they could see the data from the 17th, but that to really get the most information from that would come from the interrogation of the pacemaker. And that's as much as I can answer, not being a cardiologist.
But didn't they see it at their office? Right, monitoring it. Right.
Data in exact time so that someone can say, hey, something's not right.
I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
Dr. Durrell?
Sir.
Was there any footage that came from the body cam from the house?
I'm sorry, what was...
Was there any footage or anything that you can see from, like, body cam footage?
What a stupid question.
Are you talking about the body cams that the investigator, the responding personnel were wearing?
Video, is there any video?
No, there was no outside surveillance or interior surveillance that we are aware of in the residence. So there was nothing to show the activity inside or outside the residence, and not at this time, no.
Dr. Jarrell, you mentioned
I could use a coffee, Lisa Valenzuela.
Hantavirus is shortness of breath. We learned before that Becky Hackman was laying on the floor when she was found. What kind of medical episode would she have had to cause her to fall and then not be able to ask for help?
The question was regarding shortness of breath with hantavirus and what kind of medical episode would we expect from somebody found on the floor. And I think to be able to answer that question fairly, I can go back to hantavirus infection, which initiates with what's called a prodromal phase. That's initially flu-like symptoms where a person has fever and muscle aches, that they don't feel well. After, of course, being exposed to rodent excrement.
Hey, I got a question. Hey, is it possible that somebody infected her with hantavirus? Could you tell me that? Is it possible?
Well, I mean, technically, sir, it's possible. That's what I thought! Hey, everybody! Somebody infected her with hantavirus! Ah! That's how these people are, okay? That's exactly what, if somebody would say, that's exactly how people are in our true crime world. You ask us, is it possible that somebody infected her intentionally with hantavirus? And then obviously, logically, you have to say, yes, it's possible, and then they'll interrupt you before you say, but it's like 1 in a billion. Then they'll say, see, look at it. God, I hate it. Unreal.
And that phase can last roughly 3 to 6 days, and then they can transition.
Yeah, let me rewind it and hear what she said again.
Initiates with what's called a prodromal phase. That's initially flu-like symptoms, where a person has fever and muscle aches, that they don't feel well. After, of course, being exposed to rodent excrement. And that phase can last roughly 3 to 6 days. And then they can transition to that pulmonary phase where they have fluid in their
Thank you, Egyptian princess. Are you Egyptian?
lungs and around their lungs. And at that point, a person can die very quickly, within 24 to 48 hours, roughly speaking, without medical treatment. It's not uncommon to find someone down on the floor as part of a terminal collapse, so to speak, and that may very well have been what happened to Miss Hackman.
You're estimating her time of death on the 11th, or is it possible that she collapsed and was alive for a couple of days?
It's hard to say. I don't think she was on the floor alive for a couple of days.
Right, yeah.
I think that she
where do
went
these
through that
people
time
come
period.
up with these things?
And I don't know when she began to feel ill. And those are just things that I don't know that I'm ever going to have the answers to. But I think, and going back to that initial time period, roughly 3 to 6 days of feeling ill and then succumbing pretty quickly after fluid begins to build up in the lungs.
Given the dog was created, is it fair to assume that the dog died of dehydration or starvation?
Okay, this is about the dog.
I don't think we know the answer to that. However, given the timelines presented, it is a possibility.
Is it possible the dog had the hantavirus?
Dogs do not get sick from hantavirus.
Sir.
I know who she voted for.
The question was if we knew on Betsy's visit to the pharmacy if there was some medication or if she consulted with a pharmacist. We don't have that information, and I'm not sure that we can get that information due to HIPAA laws, but we don't have that information right now.
Sheriff?
Sir.
I think she was really into recycling.
At this point, there's no indication that there was a caretaker at the home.
Sheriff, with the footage that you saw of Betsy on February 11th, was there any indication that she was feeling shortness of breath or having trouble moving around when she was running these errands?
You know, we can analyze the video a little more, but it's going to be hard to tell. She was walking around.
You can find evidence of mice everywhere.
Visiting stores, but my detectives didn't.
Look at everybody in the chat right now has evidence of mice somewhere around their house somewhere.
Indicate that there was any problem with her or struggle of her getting around. So, and I believe she had a mask on also. So I'll have to confirm that. But yeah, that there wasn't any indication of that. Sasha.
I don't know if this is a better answer, but when was the last time you guys dealt with a hantavirus case in Dade County or responded to one?
Yeah, the question was last time the city of Santa Fe or the county dealt with a hantavirus case. I think we're gonna have to look into that. I'll get back to you. I would have to do some data before we.
I'm being that lady over there.
The CDC is aware of this case. Hantavirus is a notifiable condition nationally. All hantavirus cases are notified to them. This is not an unusual case. We get cases every year, unfortunately. So we're not seeing any indications of any abnormal or unusual patterns.
We'll go ahead and take 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap this up. Is there anybody that hasn't asked a question yet? Sir.
Maybe she has Tourette's syndrome.
Again, we're going through some of the communications, and I think the cell phones may have some indications of that prior to the 11th. But as of this moment, I don't have any information that she was indicating that she was feeling ill during any communication. One more question?
Since there's no sense that this is criminal in nature, are you closing this investigation? Are you still going to be releasing body camera footage from the deputies that entered the house? What happens next?
So we will deal with IPRA requests as necessary. If there's body camera or any request for public information, we will be releasing that because of the law. But yeah, we consider this an open investigation until we close the loopholes of the cell phones, until we finish out the necropsy results of the canine.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see the body camera footage, I guess, but it's like kind of morbid at that point, right? Because it's not like there's nothing you're going to learn from it. Like, you don't look at it and go, ooh, now maybe the intruder came in right over there. See how the doors are? You know, it's just really looking at it to see dead people on the ground. That's why you're watching it. You know, ooh, look at, we can see Gene Hackman dead. I mean, that's why you'd want to look at the body camera footage now. If it was a crime, then I'd totally get it, because then you're trying to see if you can see something in there that might help you learn something. Right? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. All right, you guys, we're on a massive lull here, so if you guys could please help support the channel, give us a shot tonight to try to get to the goal, I would appreciate it. We're not even close now. I think the last one was, gosh, I don't know, 40 minutes ago or something.
And other loose ends that we need to tie up, but you know, I think we're pretty close to the timeline and with the information that Dr. Jarrell provided.
One question on the heart disease: is it fair to describe this as a heart attack, or is it not? Is that not an accurate term for the heart disease that you suffered?
The question was, is it fair to conclude that Mr. Hackman died from a heart attack?
This stuff right here, this turquoise here, is really popular in New Mexico.
And the answer to that is that it's a little bit difficult to say. I saw no microscopic evidence of a recent heart attack. However, those changes can also take some time to develop, several hours to develop, so that I can see it under the microscope. He could have had an abnormal heart rhythm. We already know that he was in atrial fibrillation on the 18th, and that could have evolved into a more terminal heart rhythm.
Is heart failure an okay way to describe it? Do you use that terminology?
I guess Clancy's a rat then, truth sleuth.
The question was, did Mr. Hackman have heart failure? Oftentimes we see fluid around the lungs and heart failure and congestion of the liver. I did not see that in his case, but he had very poor heart, or very extensive heart disease, and so he would have been predisposed to abnormal heart rhythms, and hence he had a pacemaker as well.
Thank you, everybody. That'll conclude the press conference for today. Thank you, everybody.
Well, there you go. All right, let's do a post press conference super chat bonanza. All right, you guys, we got to get to the goal tonight, because now we're moving on to something else. So this is I mean, the Martin family case is one that we covered. I'll show you the actual. So if you look right here, look at December 5th, 2021. So that's let's see, 22, 23, 24. So about 3 years and a couple months. Or I guess we're on 25 though, so hold on. No, but 25 would be later in the year. So 22, 23, 24. So December 5th, 2024 would have been 3 years. All right, people are trying to count in there. What an interesting end to a mystery. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, at least we got the answers. And it sort of matches what some people were saying. It's not exactly, but, you know, that she died first. And, you know, it sort of seemed to make sense later. That's kind of where I landed, where she died first and then he died later. And I think changed because of certain information that we got, like some of the pills, etc. So don't all get started at once, everybody. I hope I don't have to throw myself in prison tonight. I guess that'll be coming up soon. I must have done something wrong today. I had to have done something wrong. I spent a massive time today, so it'd suck not to make a goal. So yeah, we already know that, True Sleuth. We've talked about the pacemaker thing a million times. When was the last time? You know. Let's see. And come on, let's not pretend. The guy's 95 years old. All right. It's not like, oh man, they were neglectful. They didn't change that pacemaker. He died right on that day. And let's see. Did it show up? I don't know. I don't see one from you, Sandy Shirley. I see one from Egyptian Princess and Lisa Valenzuela. So no coffee. Might want to check that again. But thank you there. Tennessee, where two people both had medical events, so it's not unheard of. Right. We know it's not unheard of. It's just kind of rare. Especially when you have elderly people. Who's throwing me in prison? I mean, we got to do something here. It's not good. Yeah, so you see the dates over here. It's like 12/5 and then 12/10, and I think it was 2 days of the Martin family, and it was like there's a lot of theories out there that he that there was a homicide. There's stuff with the son. There's all kinds of different, there's all these theories out there, but it probably is just going to end up being something sort of simple. But today it was weird because my PDF file started on January 2nd for some reason, but that case was being covered from December 9th all the way on after that. So I'm not sure why I didn't have those, but that's 1958. And we've only got one new member tonight, you guys. We're struggling on all cylinders. And you know why? Because we're not talking about Idaho 4. We're talking about the Hart family, and because of that, the support drops off the face of the earth. And then people go, God, Gray, why do you cover the same thing? Well, because if you want your channel to survive, you've got to cover the ones that people are excited about and want to discuss. But I don't give a shit tonight. I'm going to cover this one. All right. So, search for Portland family widens. 5 missing on outing for tree. Couple, 3 girls. So these 3 girls, 1, 2, 3. And the 2 parents, so there was no son in that group. There was 3 daughters and them, and they have an older brother that was, I believe, in the military. So police of 4 Oregon counties were facing growing mystery today, as many hours of searching wooded and mountainous areas failed to turn up any trace of a missing Portland family of 5. The missing persons are Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Martin of 1715 Northeast 56th. I think I have it in here. There it is. So they live in Northeast Portland. Thank you, Jessica Schubach, for getting a membership. Who else is getting one? So this is like the street that they lived on, and he was really into doing Christmas lights and made everybody else, like everybody else had to do Christmas lights. Kind of wondering if is that it right there that's blurred out? No, it's actually the one next to it. And we'll be able to tell by looking at it. So let's see. Right. There's a house there. I can see it. So it's this one right here. And it's actually a nice neighborhood now. Used to not be, but so it's right there. And apparently he made the whole neighborhood, street that they were on, really nice. But from there you would get out onto 84 even back then, and then get onto 84 and head on out like this. This is where I drove today. You just go down this long highway right here, and then here is like the way I drove. You come off and you get off right there, you go underneath, and then I drove down. I think I turned right there, and then I drove over and went over there and parked right there. And this is where that the press conference was, right there. Okay. And then after that, it was kind of a miraculous sort of. I was about to leave, and I said, "Well, let me walk back over there." And then I looked over there, and I noticed that they'd taken down all the tape. So on the live stream earlier, we actually walk all the way over like this, down here, and apparently the vehicle, so it's interesting what they said was more near where the command center was, and that was right here. So let's see what that looks like. Maybe there's a little 360 degree. Right, so it's on here. So who knows if that fence was there, but it could have meant like right there, right below there. But I think this is how it looked back in 1958. And I think it's probably, maybe it's over here, and the vehicle goes into the water. Apparently, geez, how'd that get popped up on there? Right there. And look at that curb, it's so low. Anyways, let's go back to this. Nope, I don't have one from you there, Sandy. Missing persons are Mr. and Mrs. Ken Martin, 1715 Northeast 56, and their 3 daughters who failed to return home after leaving Sunday to cut their Christmas tree and other greenery. So they went out into the woods to get this stuff. Multnomah County deputies who used 2 Jeeps Monday night to beat their way through seldom used roads and trails in the Multnomah Basin near Larch Mountain plan to go over the area again this afternoon. Alright, so let's just say that was the first one, and then looks like that's their house. I think that looked just like it. There was trees there, though. Let's go look. Let's just make sure. Alright guys, we're getting crushed in here tonight. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter what I say, nothing happens. So somebody else is going to have to try to make something happen. Alright, yeah, see, you can actually see that window right there. See how it's kind of a tall window? And then there it is right there. I'm not sure if we can see the... Maybe if I go in like this, come around. There you go. I think that kind of shows you what it should look like. Yeah, see how there's a thing that sticks out on this side and that side? And there you go. There you have it. Right there and right there. So the house is still the same as it was back in 1958. Probably remodeled the inside of it. No, thanks, Sandy Shirley. There you go. There's the coffee. Yeah, look at, they bought gas Like somewhere right here in Cascade Locks. That's on record. This is the modest home of Mr. and Mrs. Ken Martin at 1715 Northeast 56. There's their entire family in a Jeep, I guess. It's kind of weird that they all have an outline on them. And then right here, friends of Mr. and Mrs. Ken Martin and their 3 daughters missing since Sunday afternoon, which the family could be found as easy as Mrs. Martin found the answers to contest questions. Over the years, the Portland woman was a contest winner in competitions sponsored by commercial firms. One of the biggest prizes netted by her skill was an expense-paid trip for her and her husband to Cuba. To Cuba. Shit. I guess that's when you could go to Cuba. Hey, thanks, Chicken Wing. Remember on, do you guys remember, you ever watch Price is Right, or with Monty Hall? Not Price is Right. Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall. I remember one time it was, I was watching, they go, I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, it wasn't the bad prize. It was like, you've won a trip to Baghdad! You! Yeah! Yeah, I mean, could you imagine? That's like the worst place in the world now. Back then it was like, oh, you know, and here's the crazy part, you guys. A lot of people don't know it, but the people in, hey, thanks, Moofies. The people who lived back in Iraq and Iran in the 70s, watch this. Iraq, 1970 people, watch. It's totally different. This is them right here. This is Iraq. Normal, everyday people just hanging out. See that? This is when they were normal, and that's why people would go there. See that? It's crazy. It turned into like these total dictator bullcrap after this. And that's the same thing with Iran. I mean, look at that. You know, just students. They didn't have to wear the little head covers and the burqas and the... What? Boom, just students. It's wild. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's been the way it is, but it really wasn't. I mean, hell, I'm just telling you, I've seen pictures where they're sitting around smoking cigarettes. The girls don't have head coverings. They're just absolutely the same. And they've gotten destroyed by these mullahs that come in there and start, ruling the way they do. Sorry for the aside there. Gray, could you stick to the topic, you bastard? You know, I came here for the Martin case, and you started talking about Iraq, you bastard. Well, you know, it's my show, and I'll talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. All right? Thank you very much. Go cry somewhere else. Other prizes have included a washer and dryer combination, a completely stocked freezer, bicycle, and a number of appliances. Wow. So she won a lot of these little... All right, so then we go to the Ken Martin Friends Miss Candy Lane Neighborhood Santa Claus. See, there you go. Let me go to A. Let's go to page 1. Is this A1 here? Police for housewife. Man, I don't see it on there. It's is this A1? Let me go back to 10 here and see what page that is. That says 10, and they said go to see story on page 1. So I guess you do have to go to just 1, right? Hunt vane. Oh, there it is right there. Or is that it? Hunt vane for family planes fly. Okay, there it is. Pictures on page 10. Planes, helicopters, and sheriff's deputies from 5 counties Friday pressed a fruitless hunt on the broad flanks of Mount Hood. The Santa Claus costume, which Ken wears at Christmas festivals along Candy Lane, Northeast 56th Avenue, Hancock, to Broadway, which he wore last Saturday night, lies on the chair at the home of 1715 Northeast 56. So that's what he would do, is dress up like Santa Claus, and all the houses had lights on them. And all right. Ken Martin. Yeah, a lot of these stories were in the this other newspaper archive that I have. Noted for charitable. Let's just go through the headlines. If there's something that's interesting. Clues to missing family net, but 2 facts. Right, and I think it's just that they went and got gas. Like, you can actually, they have maps and everything here, right? So there's a Cascade Locks. They actually have an arrow pointing at it. Evans asked Martins to accompany them to a home of Calvin E. Welsh, 15525 Southeast Powell. The dinner. Welsh is a second cousin, blah, 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 blah. The Martins said it was such a nice day. Several see departure. Ironically, Mrs. Martin, on the Saturday preceding the family's disappearance, had attended a funeral for family friends Otis E. Johnson, 46, and his son Wayne, 16, of 3570 Northeast Knott Street, who drowned November 29th in the Columbia River west of Corbett when a boat capsized. Their bodies were not recovered for several days afterwards. Several neighbors recall seeing the Martins leave on their greens gathering jaunt. Frank M. Womack, 1802 Northeast 56th Avenue, was out washing his car and places their departure between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Mrs. V.H. Chin at 1734 Northeast 56th Avenue happened to be looking out her kitchen window when they left. She thinks their departure was closer to 2 p.m. Based on information supplied by persons who saw the Martins as they were leaving, or just before, it appears that Mrs. Martin was dressed in a black print dress, a plaid jacket, a navy blue coat, and black shoes with medium height heels. Martin apparently was wearing dark slacks and a tan zipper jacket. Martin left the rear seat of his 9-passenger station wagon at home, probably to put the tree in it, presumably to provide room for the greens in the rear of the 4-door 1954 Ford station wagon. The gas station credit slip provides only other solid clue. I mean, that's all they got. Dean Baxter, 33, owner of the Cascade Lock Station, remembers that the Martins' car was headed east while he pumped gas into it. So let's see. There's gas stations right here. When you come out of this, let's see. How did that work? I think you come up here and then take a right. And there's a gas station. There's a Shell there, Chevron. So maybe right in this spot, but they were heading east. So that means they were likely... Well, what's interesting is they were heading east, but that could be that's when they turned right there. I just don't know if that was there. Let's see if we go back to 1993. Let's get rid of roads off here because it's... Yeah, it looks like it's still, really similar. Even in 93, which is... That's not... that's still 40 years or something. But, I think it's been pretty much the same. You can tell by the bricks and everything and the stone that it's been like that for a long time. All right, I hate to ask again, you guys, but can you please help reach the goal? We're making some momentum this month, and today's a setback. I probably shouldn't have gone out to the locks, okay, because it used up 2 of my notifications, and we didn't really do that well going there. So if you have the ability to support the channel, that would be awesome. Thank you. Dean Baxter, 33, owner of the Cascade Lock Station, remembered that the Martins' car was headed east while he pumped gas into it. His memory was jogged because he recalled a heavy-set woman, undoubtedly Mrs. Martin, had a difficult time getting a door open to step out because the car was parked close to a gas pump. Baxter recalled that Mrs. Martin and one of her 3 daughters used the restroom, but that's all he can remember. I've racked my brain steady, he told the Oregonian. Baxter Station records show that Martin gas purchase was the 7th credit card sale made after 1 p.m. that fateful Sunday, with cash sales mixed in between it. It's difficult to ascertain just when the Martins were there. He estimated the time could have been around about 4 p.m. And, that's getting pretty dark, actually, at that time. If so, it would indicate that Martin stopped somewhere before reaching Cascade Locks. Let's see. If so, it would indicate the Martin stopped somewhere before reaching Cascade Locks after leaving home. I'm not sure. It would they indicate the Martin stopped somewhere. He had estimated the time could have been. Oh, I see. Like they stopped somewhere prior to that. At the moderate speed Martin drove, it would have taken him an hour to cover the 40 miles to Cascade Locks. Since their departure was not later than 2 p.m., it would leave an hour unaccounted for. To pin down the time the Martins were at Baxter Station, Hood River County Sheriff Rupert Gilmouth is trying to locate the 6 other motorists who made credit purchases after 1 p.m. at Baxter Station. Let's see. He hopes one or more might recall what time they were in the station, or might remember seeing the Martins' cream station wagon with red trim. Baxter said he thought when the first saw the Martins' pictures in the newspaper that they probably had stopped at his station one time or another, but so many people stop in the course of time that he did not give it a thought that the Martins had been there the day they seemingly evaporated. Let me ask you guys something. Is it the way that I say, hey, you guys, if you could help support the channel, whenever I do that and it's just like absolutely followed by dead silence and nothing, no support, it's just such a horrendous feeling. Is it the way I'm saying it? Because sometimes after it doesn't work when I say, hey, if you guys could support the channel, one of you guys will say, hey, everybody, let's do a wave. And then everybody starts, helping. But at the same time, what happened when I said it? Is it just getting old, like doesn't matter anymore, or what? I don't really get it. I'm just trying to make things happen over here, you guys. So what do you guys think? What's the deal there? It's weird that I didn't even know they had credit cards in 1950 something. Those are the ones you probably just had and you swiped it through. And anybody? Sing it? I don't know, man. I'm just wondering. I think I do a good job. I'm here every single day doing the shows. And I'm just trying to make things happen. I went out of my way today, and this is the worst day of the week. Even though I drove all the way to the locks and filmed and walked around so you guys could see stuff. And isn't it sad that that's the worst day of the week? That just doesn't make sense to me. So it's not really worth it to go out of your way to go somewhere, It's like you got to be right here covering the same, or it's just a collapse. Thanks, Moofies. And look at that. She's trying for a wave. Baxter said he thought when he first saw the Martins' picture in the newspaper that they probably had stopped at the station one time or another. Baxter keeps no copies of credit sales slips at his station, so the clue was not uncovered until December 23rd when the gasoline bill arrived in the mail at the Martin home. A neighbor who was handling their mail spotted it and turned it over to the Martin's sister, Mrs. Herschel. Authorities had asked oil companies with which Martin had credit cards to shortstop any sales slips made on his card. So they were just trying really hard and trying everything back then. Let's see if we go to like in March here. Paint not from Martin car. Okay. Let's see what it says in February. Right, right. But you guys, I can't afford to go on those trips then, I guess. Because then that's the difference today is me talking about the Martin case and actually driving all the way out there. And now we're having this kind of a day. And so it's sort of telling me, hey, Gray, people don't like that stuff. You really got to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Chips of red paint studied in Martin case. All right. And then we go to March 17th. Sleeping bag, clue to family. Let's see. The sleeping bag found floating in the Columbia River here may be a new clue to the disappearance of the 5-member Ken Martin family. This is in March. Then we go to sleeping bag, clue veiled. Then we go to April 9th. Still no clue in Martin case. Then April 13th, clues fizzle in Martin case. And the next day, Martin seen in Carolina. So they're talking about, you know, the Martin. Somebody said they saw the Martins in Carolina. Yeah, okay. And Martin's box open but lack clues. Let's see what this one says. Yeah, so this is one that was Martins leave home for drive, clearly intended to return, and they vanish. This is from April 19th, 1959. Thanks for trying, Moofies, but as you can see, it's one of those nights. Martins leave Oregon home for drive, clearly intending to return, but vanish. All clues have been exhausted. He was a big, cheerful man, organized all the holidays. There are Mrs. Evans' words, and they later gave the police their first clue, or first half clue, which, like others to come, was tantalizing. In Portland, the phrase "up to the highway" means, to many people, up the highway which skirts the Columbia River and leads to spectacular mountains and gorgeous... You guys saw it was really pretty, right? Hey, very cool, Karen. I enjoy the trip because I'm unable to get out much, so I got to live... Well, maybe we can... I mean, the thing is when I was out there driving back, you guys wouldn't have believed the incredible... Somehow the Columbia River was smooth, the sun was setting. It was just unbelievable. I was actually thinking, man, if I had my drone and I could fly it right now, oh, geez, that would have been another flyby of the ages. Because there's probably a scrape of paint chips. It's not worth talking about because it's not related. They were just trying to find any clue of where the family went, you know. Let's see, they ordered hamburgers, French fries. Let's see, now here's that other thing. The Evanson left sometime after 1 p.m. The Martins got into their 19th... So this is another clue. Remember how there's missing time, that hour or so? So it says right here. There are Mrs. Evans' words, and they later gave the police their first clue, or first half clue, which, like others to come, was tantalizing. In Portland, the phrase "up the highway" means, to many people, up the highway which skirts the Columbia River, that's Highway 84 now, and leads to spectacular mountains and gorges and greenery. Did the Martins literally mean up the highway, or did they simply mean up the highway in the sense of riding out into the country? Mrs. Welsh called the dinner invitation to the Martins. Again, it was declined. Ken Martin noted to Mrs. Evans that his wife had had a bout of the flu and getting out would be a good change for her. The Evansons left. Sometime after 1 p.m., the Martins got into their 1954 station wagon, license plate 1G7165, yellow on blue, and drove off. So that's 1G7165. They were Seen by neighbors, Frank M. Womack out washing his car at the time, and thought they'd find a solution. Geez, I thought that was the same sentence. Thought they left around 1. Ken Martin wearing, let's see, jeans. Sometime later in the afternoon, Dan Baxter, who runs a gas station at Cascade Locks, 42 miles up the Columbia River Highway east of Portland, sold 5 gallons of regular on a credit card signed by Mr. Martin. It was his 7th credit card sale of the day. Later in the afternoon, a jolly family drove up to the Paradise Snack Bar. God, this is what I was saying, Plato. Up to the Paradise Snack Bar at Hood River. So they actually went further, though, 20 miles east of Cascade Locks. Mrs. Clark York, 38, a waitress, recalls they were real nice people and seemed quite happy. They said they had been riding around and had been hunting a Christmas tree. Now, we don't know if that's actually a true sighting or not, but here we got, hey, thanks, Pink Peak, to make things happen. Yeah, let's make things happen tonight, you guys. Man, we got to make things happen. That's okay. I just try to make it work, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you guys. It's no big deal. I'd like to, let's see. Order hamburgers. Okay, let's check this one out. They ordered hamburgers, French fries, milk, and dessert, which came to $4.15. God, those were the good old days, huh? 5 people ate for $4.15. Give me a break. The girls had wanted soda with their hamburgers, but the father had insisted on milk. And that said, 12-year-old Linda Ellis, a friend of Barbara Martin, sounds just like Mrs. Martin. Could be, except an awful lot of fathers have a great reputation among children for insisting on milk. If that was the Martins at the Paradise Snack Bar, it was the last known time anybody saw them. It is not considered likely the Martins disappeared while actually gathering Christmas trees. Yeah. What's this? One man walked 83 miles along the bank of the Columbia from the Dalles to Portland hunting for... God, that's crazy because it was cold. Let's see. It's weird. I don't see my articles. We have to go to newspapers.com here. Let's see. We got Martin, 2 children, Martin family found. I don't know if that's the wording, but let's just do it. That's going to be maybe April 1959, Oregon. April 19th, April. It might be in May, though. I'm just trying to... See, they're basically covered every single day. I mean, it's crazy. Let's see. Martin family children found at Locks. I just want to see if this is in here. Oh, here we go. Wow, okay, here we go. Martin girl identified, second body found. This is on May 4th, 1959. Object reported in dam spillway. A body identified as that of Barbara Martin, 14, was taken from the Columbia River from where it had lodged in debris just upstream from Bonneville Dam. So let's see where that is. That's where that is? Huh. That Bonneville Dam was farther up. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Just upstream from there. And there's actually a witness that saw the bodies right here and was trying to like, hey, everybody. And then they got the bodies right over here by the Bonneville Dam. So this is 5 months later. And so, I'll say what my theory is. Plato has one that's sort of similar, but not like mine. All right, my theory is that the vehicle went in the water. I think they must have had some food or something, and they drove down here to just park and eat. And I think he pulled in and then he backed in, and I looked, and that vehicle often is an automatic. So it drives around and then backed in, and I think he had it in reverse but left the engine on. All right? I don't know if you can park. I don't know if that works like that, but let's just say he had it in reverse, and or maybe put it in neutral or something, but they just sat there with the car running, keeping it warm, and then maybe, there's 5 people in the car, so they had the window down a little bit in the back, and maybe they're eating something, just kind of eating in the car, and then when it was ready to go, no, I'm pretty sure that's how it works, right, because I've done that before, an accident, where I backed up, and then I went backwards, and that was with a stick, though, I think. I can't remember. But as soon as he took off, though, he hit the gas and went backwards. That's what I think. And then he went into the water. Then the vehicle went in the water here, and it drifted down, and by the time it hit the bottom, it went into this deep hole, and it wasn't able to get out because, those cars back then weighed a ton. Yeah, just so much weight, just steel. And it sunk down, and then it went to the bottom, and then rolled into that. There's a deep hole right there called the pit. I think it's right here. And it couldn't get out because it's down in it. And then the car ended up on its side, kind of. And I think after a few months with the storms and so forth and decomposition and gases, the 2 of the girls were able to kind of float out of the window that was open and go downstream. And the other people were stuck in the car, unfortunately, when they, never were able to drift out. All right? Something like that. Plato's was something similar, like it was more detailed. It was really specific. I mean, it was like, let's see. So if you go down right here, and you see, look how there's almost nothing there to protect you from going in. Like if you had this in reverse and you kind of gunned it to take off, you'd go straight back and fly right into there. Right? And especially if you backed in and you reversed it in and then you left it in a gear that you normally wouldn't do. Like this car right here, let's say he was still sitting in there and it was in reverse, and he was sitting there and then he goes, oh, and boom, and he'd fly right in the water. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Deborah. This is from 1958. So anyways, they go into the water right there. They sunk down. Now, let's get back to this, though. Possibility that a second member of the missing Ken Martin family has been found. So that means another girl was found. When was that one? So this is May 4th. Let's see, is there anything? Let's see. Let's go to April, and then late April. There's 28th. Yeah, we already saw that one. 27th. No. Okay, so maybe it just is right around there. Sue Martin's body found. So a body identified as that of Sue Martin, 11, today spurred a search along the Columbia River for her mother and father and 2 sisters missing since they left here last December 7th to hunt Christmas greens. The badly decomposed body identified as that of the youngest member of the Martin family, was found Sunday in the Columbia River near Camas, Washington, a few miles upstream from Portland on the Washington shore of the stream. Sheriff Clarence McKee of the Clark County, Washington, said he planned a tour of the Columbia River by boat, probably to look for other. Then right here, a second body at Bonneville. A body found in debris at the Bonneville Dam today was identified tentatively as that of Barbara Martin, 14, older daughter of the missing Ken Martin family. The body of her sister Sue, 11, was found near Camas, Washington. The body near the dam was that of a girl and was clad in blue jeans and a gray sweatshirt similar to the clothing worn by Barbara when she disappeared. The Washington side of the river, and from Sandy River to Bonneville, does that come from down here or something? It looks like it may be cut off from over there. That's when they were found. Let's see if there's something like the next day that's a little bit more information. Crews seek more bodies, so they're looking for more. Sixth. Let's see, spotlight probes, aid and hunt, intensive. So now they're just looking for all of them, but they never found them. Okay, so they never found them, and then just recently we have, let's see, yeah, all these things came in. Let me do the one from, well, I got them all from today, basically. So underwater search continues for car believed to belong to the Martin family. See, now this crane right here, let's see if we can find some, if I make that bigger, hold on.
Suck up the mud, debris, and the rocks that is anchoring that.
Ah, see, that's a perfect way to view it right there. So when at the end of today, if you guys watch my live stream from there, I was right there. I was standing right here on this little, see this part down there? Remember how I walked down and then I went down here and I was just standing right there? And it looks like you can see something right here, like a balloon bag or something. I don't know what that is, that whiteness. But I think right below there, right in that spot, is where that vehicle was seen. And if we go back to the map here, look at, just go like that. See, it's the same damn thing. And right where my pin is, basically, is where I was walking today, was right down there, walked all along there, and went to here. And then right in the water, right here is where they were searching with this crane. All right.
That car, exclusive access to the command center put up by the Hood River Sheriff. That's why we have this live shot from across the river at the scene.
I think the one talking is Jeff Gianola, I think.
Let's take a live Coin 6 drone shot right now, and this is from the air above, and it gets you kind of an idea of the operation here. It's
actually, I bet those are scuba diver bubbles right there. That's what that is.
Believe that the car, believed to be the Martin car, is right at the beginning of the locks there. And if you look closely, you can see cables leading into the water. And for the past 5 hours, the cables have gone in a circle of debris. So this was the video we saw. They pulled a log out of the water, the divers, as they were trying to clear the area around the car. Then later, the dredge pipe came up, and they started hammering at rock. By a diver, the dredge.
So there's a diver that went out there and looked.
Pipe is coming up right now so they can clear more debris. That's the challenge they have. What's happening underwater? Well, this car was discovered.
See, look at this is video from the guy that actually founded it. Is it Archer Mayo up there? But look, here it is, man. Isn't that crazy? I mean, this is so crazy. See, we covered this on the show almost 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and it's just so weird that all of a sudden, after all those years, somebody's down there and found it.
by a diver named Archer Mayo. And Archer shot this video. He had been searching for this car for 7 years.
Yeah.
And like what the divers
Oh, there
are
it was.
using.
Let's do that.
And this is what he's facing. You see his hand.
I'd be scared out. I mean, there's like these huge sturgeon swimming around.
They're clearing some of the debris. He had a little vacuum dredge, but nothing like what the divers are using right.
All right, guys, we're about 30 short from the low end of the goal. Okay, and if we get 80 more, we do the 5 memberships again.
Now, sheriff investigators are standing by. They keep checking with the divers to see how much debris they've
see, then you can
cleared so far. And, you know, when will they be able to time bringing the car up? It all depends on if they can remove enough debris so that car
see. I think it's like right there. You can see the
can move easily
there's
because
Ford.
they don't want to disturb
See that? I think it says Ford something or other.
any evidence that's in there. Remember, 2 of the Martin girls
That's crazy.
washed ashore downriver. Their bodies, 5 remains still. It was a 1954
There it is right there.
Ford station wagon like this. It was tan in color. You notice the red trim around the windows? That matches what the diver has seen Archer underwater, but more importantly,
It sucks too because when they pulled it out, they basically lost the whole. I mean, all they got was the chassis of it. So this is the family. Everybody but him was in the car. He was, I think, off in the military or something.
it was Ken and Barbara Martins, the parents, along with their 3 girls, Barbie, Virginia, and Sue. And that gentleman on the left, he was in his 20s then. That's Donald Martin, the oldest Martin. And Donald was stationed with the Navy in New York
There
when
you
his
go.
family disappeared.
Yeah.
And was somewhat estranged from his family. So let's get back to our pictures of the afternoon. It'll be quickly wrapped up, put on a flatbed truck car, whether that be human remains. Back then it was aggregation. They start with the worst case scenario.
All right, let me go on to the next one. How did they find the Martin family station wagon? More than 65 years ago, the Martin family vanished from their northeast Portland home. On Thursday, the Hood River County Sheriff's Office announced that they had received information from a local diver who claimed to have found the station wagon belonging to the Martin family, who vanished in 1958. Coin 6 News spoke with the diver Archer Mayo as investigators entered the second day at Cascade Locks, where they're hoping to pull the car from the water in one piece. Yeah, that didn't happen. I think they just kind of rushed it, to be honest with you. This is really interesting here. Look at this. Hold on.
I'm Travis Time.
Morning, he's been how authorities learned about this breakthrough from a local diver.
See, that's the guy today that I was like, hey, Jeff Gianola. You guys remember that? That was pretty funny. He had to go to do a live, but
It's really an incredible story, Jeff.
God, he was there. He was there when I was like a 20-year-old. It's crazy.
Important piece of evidence, a vehicle that could be, and most possibly is, the vehicle that the Martins were traveling in when they disappeared 66 years ago. Let me set the scene. Behind me, there's this effort on a barge around 12:30 yesterday. Effort began. The efforts of the man stand. Now you're
back up to
Okay,
normal.
this is the guy
Other
right
people,
here. This guy right here. He's the scuba diver.
But the car's also stuck in mud. Tell us about the amount of debris down there.
Yeah, well, the whole history of the gorge is a history of floods, and so we've had, since that car has been down there, we've had the 64 flood, the 65 flood, and then a much bigger flood in 1996.
That was huge.
All of that is on top of the car. And 96 had a lot of rock in it. So when I was down there trying to dig for the front license plate, because I really wanted to get that definitive answer.
Identification.
Totally. I realized that I didn't have the amount of time to do it without a whole nother summer of digging. So I went to the sheriff and said, you guys take it from here, and they've been great.
Let's talk about the car. It's in 1954. There was something else you noticed about that car since it's upside down. The wheelbase And you said that was important in identifying this vehicle.
Yeah, this is one of those cars where the rear wheels are kind of in the car. They're kind of almost partially hidden. So when I measured the rear wheels across, I knew it should be 56 inches, which is small for a car. Most cars have a little bit bigger on the back to make them look a little more muscular. And in this car, it was the opposite.
I'll be able to bring this car up to date.
All right, try it again, you guys. We are 30 short of reaching the goal, so if you guys have the ability to, that would be awesome. Come on, freaks. You can do it.
Hopefully, what would be your best guess?
My money would be on midday, right, like between 12 and 1, just the amount of work they've been doing. They're probably starting pretty early this morning. And fears of being on the bottom out of the car. We don't want the car to break or part of the frame to go. I mean, what
I think this guy was probably really frustrated with how it all turned out, you know, because he found it. He was slow and methodical. And it looked like when the police got in there, they used a sledgehammer. Let's see. Yeah, where's I had a video of him. Let's see, is that this one? Or is this one from the day? But I had a video of the guy showing. Oh, wait, I think I know where I gave it. I gave it to Zozo. Let me see if I can find it.
Back to our top story.
Like I talked about earlier today.
But your man Martin heard the sheriff say they do believe this is.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the one. There's one where he did an interview with the shoot. Come on, you guys. He interviewed the guy, and he actually showed like a model. Well, I'll just kind of try to explain it. There's like a big deep pit that was built so that the gates open, and then he let's see. Oh yeah. And it was really covered with dirt, and he sort of prodded around with a pole and found that car. But he actually had a little 3D model that he made, you know, like a real 3D model in person. I just don't know where I put that. I know that he interviewed him. Let me see if I can find it over here. Martin family vehicle recovery. I know he interviewed him. So there's a lot of videos they put out here. Like a bunch. I mean, Coin6 on YouTube has put out a ton of videos on this. $58. I'm just trying to find the one where he interviewed the individual. Effort on pause. Yeah, hold on, let me get the guy's name again.
The this morning with the latest.
And most investigator, and they call it become the efforts of the.
Yeah, I've been looking for a long time, and I've had this theory. I wasn't sure I was ever going to be able to actually.
Okay. that it?
Water is rather murky,
That's
but
it.
incredibly, Archer, you made a map of.
This is it right here. This is the guy right there. And here's the little model.
What this looks like underwater in the Martin car. Can you describe what we're seeing here?
Right. So this is the width of the canal is this way. So it's 90
This is Coin 6 with Jeff Gianola.
feet across. And the current would be moving downriver going this way. This piece represents how high the current, the surface is now. So this is 40 feet above what we're calling this is the pit. Now this is a forgotten feature of the Cascade Locks.
And you focused your...
See, this is what it actually looks like underwater there. The water's flowing, and then there's this thing that they dug that goes down. And that's how the car got trapped in there. It didn't get pushed downstream.
Search there for the last 7 years, you said very firmly, that's where I'll find the Martin car.
Once I knew about this, Jeff, that's the thing. So I first dove here, and I realized that all of the pit was concrete on the bottom except this one spot, and actually it looked like this when I got to it.
That was the amount of debris you encountered?
This is the amount of debris that's still mostly in there. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, is this a 5-foot depression? Is this to stop? Because the doors used to open and close here, and I thought, well, maybe that depression is just to keep logs from jamming the doors. And then I took a fiberglass rod, 15 feet long, and I started hammering it down the back of this pit here, and it just kept going, and I couldn't hammer anymore. And I'm like, it's at least 15 feet deep. So I went back to the Oregon Historical Society, where they have all the photographs of building the canal, and I found, amazingly, a perfect side picture of this pit feature. And this pit feature is partially, it's to absorb this stone 13-foot by 20-foot tall wall, absorb the force of the doors when it was closed. The whole force of the river was held back by these doors. And the ground around it isn't strong enough, so they had to kind of create this. This is a new feature for a canal that I've ever known.
Well, the most important thing here is you have a model of what could be the Martin car. Tell us about what this model represents here.
Out and the shore. And so, you know, this is a huge pit. The car could have been anywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's just right here. So, like right down that wall, there's a pit right there. This deep 15-foot hole that the car, after it went in the water and went down, it sunk into it. But anyways, I guess that's really about it, you guys. Thank you all for being here and watching. I'm going to get going here. So thanks to Kami and Moofies and Karen Morrison and Deborah Heimbach, Buck and Sandy Shirley and Jessica Schubach, Chicken Wing, Moofies, Karen Morrison and Pink Peak. And then also Lisa Valenzuela, Egyptian Princess, and Sandy Shirley in the coffees. Alright, well anyways, they found the vehicle. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. I did have one other thing I was going to show. On here, they pull it out of the water, and see, look at, they just ripped it apart. That's all they got was this chassis thing here. That whole car was together down there. We saw the video. They should have done it much more care, I think. Spent time to get it out right, dig underneath it, put a whole bunch of stuff underneath it to keep it from falling apart, put something on top of it, slowly get it out of there. And they were like, well, we didn't have a lot of time, so they just kind of yanked it out. They didn't find any in the car. They found 2 years ago, they came out of the vehicle. They didn't find any bones or anything. But anyways, you guys, I tried my best to try to reach the goals. Didn't happen. So I'm going to go work on another video for tomorrow. Hopefully that helps out. Alright, you guys. Thank you very much for being here and watching the other live streams today, etc. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, thanks for being here. And until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person That is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. Alright, everybody? Talk to you later.